February of 2015, our oldest daughter, she was 6 at the time, got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, squamous cell carcinoma. They told me she had about 2 weeks to live. It was a pretty traumatic kind of come to Jesus wake up moment. My daughter's life and kind of our whole life kind of flashed before my eyes. And I was like, all right, the greatest asset that I have is time. I want time for my family.
You're listening to How I Grow This, exploring stories of gardeners from across the globe as we learn from their biggest tips and tricks to some of the things not to do. I'm your host, Luke Hammond. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the How I Grow This podcast. You are in for a treat today because my friend Ray Tyler from Selmer, Tennessee is in the house, and he is probably one of the best growers around out there. Ray, welcome to the How I Grow This podcast.
Great to be here with you, Luke.
Hey, Ray, I want to open up with a quick question on just your background, how you got into growing. But before we do that, right now, how big is your farm and how much revenue do you produce on that farm?
We currently are growing produce on about, I guess at this moment, about 1.25 acres.
Okay.
Is what I would say. We gross around $800,000 a year. And we, grow mixed vegetables and sell 52 weeks a year. So we do not take any weeks off. I've got a team. And so we are growing, selling, slinging veg.
All year long. Year round.
Yep.
Rain, nor shine, nor snow.
It doesn't matter. Yep.
And then, okay, and so Selmer, Tennessee, talk to me a little bit. You guys are a little bit wet. You guys get some rain.
We get a lot of rain. We get rain, we get tornadoes, we get hail, we get lots of high wind, and it gets hot. And
you've had all of that this last year.
We've had it all. Hail, tornado, heat, 0-degree temperatures in the winter. It's been quite the roller coaster season for us.
Yeah, so 2025, let's just kind of highlight through this. Like we started out fairly cold and we had some really cold spells.
Yep.
Where you were hitting 0 degrees.
Yep.
Right? Then coming out of that, we had some of the wettest season that we've seen in a long time through the majority of the Midwest.
That's right.
How many inches of rain have you had to date thus far?
I think we were at, I haven't checked recently, but I think at May we were close to 60 inches on the farm.
60 inches of rain.
55 or 60. Yeah. It was a lot. 1 week we had 11 inches of rain. It was definitely the wettest spring, early summer that I can remember.
Wow.
Well, actually, I take that back. I think
it was like 2023 or 2022 when I first...
20, let's see.
Was it?
I think it was 2017, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
I didn't have my rain gauge set up that year, but a farmer pretty close to me, they recorded 125 inches of rain that year.
Yeah, 2017.
All summer. I mean, it just never fall.
Was some historic flooding. Yeah.
Yep. It was brutal. And that was, after that year is when I decided, hey, I'm done growing in open fields. And that's when we went 100% covered on our home farm here.
Gotcha. And so when you mean covered, you're in either high tunnels or caterpillar tunnels, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome.
I should take that back. That was 2019. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because in 2020, that was our first full season completely covered.
Very cool.
Yep.
So we're on this little over 1 acre. We have high rain. We have heavy winds. This last season, you had hail so bad that it punctured the holes in the plastic all the way through all these 26 tunnels. And you and your team had to replace all the poly and still get everything planted and still get everything harvested and salvaged and to market in a week. What was that like?
That was busy. Yeah. So, I'm very blessed with a good team and my, so basically, when those kind of things happen. Um, I don't like to work my family too much, trying to avoid burnout. But these kind of disasters do happen, and they all rise to the occasion. So we had all 8 of us plus my team. We did our harvest. Let's see, that tornado happened. I think Friday, Thursday, Wednesday night is when everything was shredded. I got all my supplies by Friday. We did market Saturday. Monday, it was just all hands on deck, and we just, one at a time replaced all those skins. And it wasn't just a little hail, like
Yeah, it was like
it was,
you sent me pictures of like softball size hail
yes, it
almost. Like,
was right through. Thankfully,
man.
we maybe lost a dozen plants where it just went right through, impacted an actual plant. So the plastic really saved our farm.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, even though it shredded our plastic, but it saved,
Wow.
yes, tens and tens of thousands of dollars of crops.
Now, the farm office that you're sitting in, which used to be your home,
Yep,
is a yurt.
it is a year.
How did the yurt handle that
It was
level?
great. It just bounced right off.
Perfect.
Yep,
For those who are considering living in a yurt, it can handle softball
yep.
size hail.
These things are great. We lived in a house before we built this, and basically any high wind, severe storms, the house would just creak and groan. And this thing, just the wind just goes right around it. So it's a really safe place to be.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Now, let's talk a little bit about all the different vegetables that you grow, and then just kind of go through them as it changes. I mean, right now we're in the heat in the summer season. There's probably a little bit that changes for you, but you're kind of known for growing everything throughout the year, um, and bringing out of season crops to market in order to generate that higher revenue stream off of very small acreage. So, what are you growing and bringing to market right now?
So currently we're bringing head lettuce, salad mix, arugula, uh, some micros. We are producing a lot of herbs. I mean, we have we've developed an excellent market for herbs. I mean,
Very cool.
herbs is it's been surprising how much herbs we can sell, especially in the summertime.
Okay. So, what are these
Um,
herbs that you're growing?
we're doing basil, cilantro, parsley, oregano, thyme, sage, mint, rosemary.
So, did you set up a bunch of these in kind of like a perennial chunk system on your farm? Because most of your farm is set up as an annual bed flipping, 30-inch
That's
bed,
right.
top, 100-foot bed.
So we do herbs 2 ways. Um, One, we grow in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the, like, I guess you would say the quick turnover herbs would be dill, cilantro, and basil.
Mm-hmm.
So we're succession planting those every other week.
And are you direct seeding those? Are you putting
Those
them
are
in
all
cells?
everything currently is all transplants except for root crops. So
Okay.
like radishes, we are direct seeding those.
And
Yeah,
so, so
so
for your,
things like basil, dill, and cilantro,
mm-hmm.
because of our heat, and those crops tend to bolt pretty fast in our
Mm-hmm.
summers.
Mm-hmm.
Every other week we're seeding. 4 weeks later, though, those get transplanted, and then about 3 to 4 weeks later, we will harvest those. And they're pretty much just cut right at the base and then flip that bed.
Gotcha. So in your system and in your context, I know you've played around a lot over the years with different styles of farming and no-till and not-till, and you've got this really, really heavy clay soil that's
Mhm.
shocking, to most people when they see it. And they're like, how are you even growing anything out of this stuff when it locks up? Um, so when you say a bed flip, do you come in with a tilther, with a BCS machine? How deep are you getting that fresh bed top? Are you just going down the aisles with a rotary plow and raising it? Is everything flat? Walk through a bed flip for me.
Yeah. We do this two ways. So I'll just cover the first one. And I do change kind of our systems
Right.
quite often.
Right. So don't take this as Ray Tyler
Yes.
gospel. This is
Yes.
gotcha.
This is we're always evolving. We're always trying things. So we'll try things for a few years and be like, we're
Yeah,
not really seeing the results, or like, oh, you know what? This is really just we're just seeing some issues that we think we could solve by maybe changing how we prepare beds. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna give you our kind of what we were doing up until last year and then what we're doing now.
Perfect.
We were practicing for about 4 years a really like a zero till. So we were essentially let's just say, for example, we would grow a bed of arugula in the summertime, crop that out. We would wet that soil, cover that with fabric. In the summertime, about a week later, all that arugula would be pretty much broken down, not composted, but broken down enough
Mm-hmm.
where we could put drip tape on that landscape fabric, and then we would plant kale or lettuce or herbs right into that bed. So no
So there
tilling.
was some residue, there was some
There was some residue.
material. It wasn't getting a nice perfect seed in a soft fluffy space.
It was
okay.
not a fluffy bed. Yes. And that seemed to work pretty well. However, over time, walking on the shoulders of the beds, I just felt like because we do have heavy clay soil, and yes, we are adding compost, I wasn't satisfied with the texture of my soil. It just wasn't meeting my hopes and expectations.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that of I'm not satisfied. I'm not
Yeah, it's just
satisfied with the results that I'm getting.
that's
Like
right.
people may look at the pictures, they may taste the food, and it's just I'm just not there. Is that one of the things that you would attribute to your success as a gardener?
Yes, and so I mean, I'm never content, never satisfied. I always feel like our crops, our soil,
Mm.
our working conditions, our system can always be better. So we're never. It's never like I can sit back and go, all right, I've arrived. Here we are. We've reached
Right,
the pinnacle of success, the pinnacle of crops, health, soil, customers. We're always kind of looking for, hey, how can we improve this by 1%, 2%? And
right.
there's, at least in my experience, that never seems to end.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
my list of like things that I feel like we can improve feels greater. Like there's more things I feel like we can improve now than, 10 years ago.
Yeah. So how do you choose which one to implement or bring into play in practice? Because I mean, you're working with a team of not only
Yeah.
just your family, they're kind of like the emergency call out
Yeah.
team. Um, but you also have how many full-time and how many part-time staff in the
I
summer?
have one full-time year-round employee, and
Okay.
she kind of manages the farm and the team. And then we have three seasonal workers that come in at you know, main season.
That seems a little bit lighter than it's been before in the past.
It
Maybe a little bit.
has, yeah, we have the least amount of people this year than we've had in probably
4 or 5 years maybe?
5 years, I would say.
And so you've got one full-time farm manager that's managing the greenhouse. You've
Yep.
got yourself,
Yep.
which is mainly doing the call out and getting everything ready for market. It's already washed, it's already packed, and then you've got 3 members of the team. So 4 true harvesting, bed flipping, seeding, and then you're kind of this auxiliary player, and your wife is an auxiliary player to jump in, and
That's
Asha
right.
and the rest of the crew, like
It
the
yeah,
family crew.
it's a little bit more nuanced than that, if you want me to kind of get into that.
I'm tremendously curious about it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So, for those of you guys listening, and maybe a little unfamiliar, so I have acquired a second rental farm. This is kind of an ongoing experiment. Primarily, I am trying to dial in root crop and storage production. So this rental farm is primarily for root crops, things that take
So
a long time to grow and take a lot of space. And this
so
isn't quite profitable.
are you putting radish there or just carrots, like storage carrots, beets, turnips? Are those kind of the big three? What else do you do? Are you
Yeah,
doing
so
parsnips?
we're not doing that yet. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. We'll see. Right now, it's primarily radishes,
Oh, okay.
storage radishes, beets, carrots, watermelon radish, daikon radish,
Mhm.
really big hit at our markets. Onions, we'll be doing a good amount of garlic this season, this fall, and we're planning on bringing potatoes back next year as
Oh,
well.
wow. Okay.
So that's primarily where you're doing a big seeding. Like I just
Mhm.
seeded a week and a half ago, large plot of carrots. That'll come out the end of October, and we're just going to store that for our winter sales.
So I want to double click in on this concept because some homesteaders, even at the homestead scale or even at the market farm scale, storage becomes an issue,
Yes.
and there's always this question of, okay, what do I store the crop in?
Yeah.
Do I leave tops on? Do I leave tops off? If you're in the market, if you have a top on and it looks good, it adds value. If you're not in a
Right.
market, yeah. So what has been your strategy for the storage piece of these root crops? Let's just start with carrots and then maybe turnips and like beets or something.
Yep. So it's pretty much the same for all storage crops, except for onions, potatoes, but all your
Hmm.
root vegetables.
Hmm.
We are harvesting. I've decided to pre-wash, so they're all clean, and then we pack them in 20-pound bulk bags, and then that goes into a big like super sack in a
Okay, so
walk-in cooler
okay,
that's set
so
at around 30 to 33 degrees.
and about 90% humidity
Lots of humidity.
with that bag, and then that bag is a semi-vented bag. Does it
It
have
is not a vented bag. Well, yeah, a little. I mean, it's
there's
got
like a
a little
couple
bit.
holes in it?
Yeah, not much. Because we don't want them to dry out.
Right.
That helps retain the humidity.
Right. Okay.
So that's been my strategy
Mhm.
for storing root crops. And there's, I mean, depends on, some growers swear by, don't wash
Mhm.
after. I think this depends on if you have sandy soil or clay.
Mhm.
So in my context, because we have really heavy clay, um, that there's just a lot of soil that gets stuck on those roots. So
Yeah, and
I've
there's
just found that we need to get all that off to
I
help increase our storage life.
and I wonder too how much decomposing bacterias may be present in that kind of environment.
That's a
That's
good point.
that's been left after you try and because it's not a dry storage, right? It's a wet storage. It's
Right.
90% humidity.
That's
You're
right.
you're keeping moisture in there, and so that's what keeps that crispness. And it's not like a potato where it's stored dry
Right.
to where it can then do its thing.
Correct.
So I'm just kind of interested. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, so that's been our strategy. I have yet uh you know, I haven't had enough root crops to last longer than 4 months.
Hmm.
Usually we sell so many of them that
Oh darn!
it just can't.
Oh
Yeah,
darn!
I know. And it's like, I've got quite a bit of farmers who are just begging for crop because their crops are struggling. But I have enough carriage to last my market until my next round comes in.
Right, right.
So we'll see. Yeah. So, anyways, uh I kind of go back to our labor currently. What it is one guy is managing that. I would say our root crop farm. So
Okay.
he's preparing the beds, planting, seeding, watering, whatever cultivation, and then when it's harvest time,
Uh-huh.
then we'll have some guys come in for a week or two and help get those out, get those washed, bagged, and stored.
Mhm.
Um,
Did you build a little field wash pack out there, or like a large root crop cleaner? Did you invest in one of those?
I've got sort of a crude one that I've rigged up. It's basically a cement mixing
Mm-hmm.
machine, and I put like a
Mm-hmm.
big barrel on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hopefully build a large root washer
Mm-hmm.
this fall.
I was
Yeah, just
talking with Emma Jagaz with Moon Valley Farm, and she said that was one of the best investments she ever did.
yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, for sure, Yeah. So it's
That's awesome.
that's definitely gonna happen.
Be on the
Um,
wish list, the
that that
improvement
that
list.
is yes, it's massive. So one guy manages that, and then I have two full-time guys who manage my home farm. So this is completely covered with tunnels,
Okay.
rain or shine, and that's what's great about having tunnels is that it does not matter the weather, rain or shine. They can work. If they're working, say they have to flip some beds in an early afternoon, late morning, early afternoon, they can throw a shade cloth on to cut that heat down a few degrees. And so basically it's two full-time guys on my home farm, which is 90% of our income does come from my home farm because it's 100% covered.
So let's kind of double click and jump in there. They'll throw shade cloth on in the midsummer, so you don't have shade cloth covering all these tunnels all through the summer.
No, we so what I have found, at least for my um context and climate, is when we my two guys were planting arugula this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna water that. They'll throw shade cloth on top of those hoops for the first
Okay.
week.
Okay.
And then what I found is that once the roots are established, I do like to take that shade cloth off.
Okay.
Now it's going to get hot. As long as the soil stays moist and somewhat cool, the crops can survive pretty hot temperatures. It's really about keeping the soil cooler than 90 degrees.
Okay. So you're trying to keep the soil cooler than 90 degrees.
That's right.
Do you change when you're timing your irrigation in order to help keep that cool? And are you set up on overhead irrigation for these, or drip tape, or both?
We are set up for both. So it's a dual irrigation system. So how I like to do this is that we'll say, okay, and we are doing a trial this summer, which I've been pretty happy with so far. We are transplanting arugula plugs. We are not direct seeding.
Okay.
Which
On
sounds
on a quick plant fabric?
That's correct. It
Like,
is a 5x6, so 5 rows, 6 inches apart, and I've been happy with that.
so is that a custom one? That's not one that
That is a custom one that I did,
okay.
and I think I told Farmer's Friend they just sent me some trials that we're actually testing right now of theirs.
Cool.
So I believe they're going to be releasing that in the near future.
Cool.
That shade cloth, I mean that landscape fabric, the soil beneath the landscape fabric can, even on a 100-degree day in July, the surface of the soil can be around 85 degrees in the afternoon. So that to me has been really crucial, is keeping the surface of that soil below 90 for a lot of these cooler weather crops. So once the roots get established, they can really take a beating when it comes to heat, as long as you have cool soil, coolish, I guess you would say,
Right.
and enough water and proper soil nutrition.
Okay.
That's
How
been really key for me.
how do you manage overwatering in those hot summer days? When are
Yes.
these all on timers and you're kind of playing
Oh,
it day to day, and
no,
it's all
no,
automated, or
no.
what's that look like for you?
Everything is automated. We
Okay.
use very simple, basic orbit timers. I've tried all kinds of fancy ones. Those are just easier for my team to operate. Anyone can do it. And it depends on what stage the crop is in, and
Mm-hmm.
what crop really will determine on how much water, how often it is. So, for example, let's just say we plant arugula. Those were P200 cells, so they are pretty
Mm-hmm.
small root ball. So we'll have, let's just say for the initial watering, maybe we'll turn on that water between 20 to 30 minutes. We really want to soak that bed,
Mm-hmm.
really try to get that, water bank established in the bed. And then maybe it will go on, every 6 to 12 hours, depending on how much sun and heat we have for the first
Mm-hmm.
week. Really, after the first week, once the roots are established and the plants grow, then I like to switch to drip tape. I like to I used to do a lot of overhead watering through the summer, thinking, okay, I'll just cool off the plants. And that did work. The problem with that is that we can get more disease with excess water on the plants. So now what I'm doing now is after that first week or so, we're switching to drip. So I want to keep as much water off those plants, and I've just found a higher quality plant. Just seems to be a lot more healthier, more yield with doing as much drip as I can. So that's
Gotcha.
been my current method and system.
So, in your effort to kind of cut costs and everything standardized on that 100 foot, you have a drip tape. What uh, what drip tape emitter spacing do you like, and how thick of a drip tape are you using, and um, or how often do you have to replace those tapes?
In our tunnels, I think we could use drip tape for up to 2, maybe 3, 4 years.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
And how's your water? Is your water fairly um, pH neutral, or is it a
Yeah,
little acidic?
it's well water. We have very high quality water. We get it tested once a year. We'll
Mm-hmm.
send that off to an agronomist just to make sure, hey, nothing's changed. So we've been blessed with high quality water.
Yeah, that makes a
On the
big
drip
difference.
tape, yeah, 4 to 8, 4-inch emitters is nice just because I haven't been able to find a 6-inch emitter yet.
Right.
So 4-inch works.
Mathematically, I love the 4-inch one that is 1 gallon per 100 feet. It's like that
Yeah.
calculation.
Yeah, it's just nice. So
Yeah.
4 inch is a nice standard.
Okay. Perfect.
If we're doing I basically just kind of stick with the 4-inch. Sometimes I will
Mm-hmm.
do the 8.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying different things. Um, for me, I think your emitter spacing isn't as important as the irrigation timer. Like
Mm-hmm.
that consistent watering every single day or every other day, if it's in the spring or the fall, that's really been the most important thing.
Gotcha.
What's great about the dual irrigation system, having that overhead netafim misters, is for that first week you're really establishing those plants. The
Mm-hmm.
the issue is that I found, like, say if you're going to grow radishes, this is really important if you have a well drained bed where the soil, where the water just goes straight down and it can't really get that even coverage for germination. Is I find that I can get spotty germination with just relying on drip for the first week of that plant's life.
Mm.
So having that overhead, regardless of the crop, just ensures 100% coverage from end to end, side to side.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
And then we just switch, just one little switch that will switch to that drip.
Very cool.
So it is a little bit more complex, but this kind of comes back to that 1%, 5% little nuanced changes.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and this kind of goes back to your earlier question about, like, how do you decide what thing to work on or what system to change? Number one is I like to solve one or two pain points every single week. In our day-to-day production, there's always a pain point, a problem to solve. So quite a few years ago, I just found that, man, I just feel like our water system was not efficient. We were having issues. We were moving hoses around. We would set timers, when to turn off the water, and then we leave our phone somewhere. There's just,
Yep.
you know, we're all humans and we're not robots. So anytime I
Right
can,
now.
right
Right
now,
now.
right, yeah, change is coming. um, Anytime I can automate any system, whether it be a
Hmm.
schedule or a timer or um anything that I can, you know, reduce human error,
Hmm.
right? Like, we used to have our task sheet on a piece of paper, and that would get wet. The guys would lose it, it would get dirty, it covered up a vital piece of information and they misread it. So okay, this is a problem, this is insane. Let's figure out a different app that
Okay.
people don't, I haven't had an employee who ever's lost his phone. Yeah, maybe he left it in the greenhouse bench, but he or she basically always knew where their phone was. So we
Right.
went to an app and that solved all of our task list. So it really just comes down to, hey, this week, what is giving us the most problems? What's
Hmm.
costing us the most time, money, lost sales? And then we would try to figure out what kind of solution can we come up with to solve that problem.
Man, that's
And
like
it's just
so
consistent
valuable,
every
so
week.
vital.
When you first start out, I mean, this is not just for farming, but any business, right? It's all about solving those problems bit by bit. Because, if you look at all the problems you want to solve, there's no way you can solve them in one day or 1 week or even 1 year. There's so many of them. So I've just kind of paced ourselves and went, all right, as long as we're getting the most vital task done, which for our farm, is market ready to go by Friday morning.
Hmm.
Long as that's done, then we kind of figure out what time do we have left over, and then we look at, all right, what kind of problems do we have this week, and is there anything we could do to change a system or get a tool or change a method to
Right.
make that problem disappear. I
Right.
want to, I love problems, but I don't like the ones that repeat themselves week after week after week. I want to see them go away. Let's go to
Right.
the next one. And so it's simply doing that every week, pacing yourself, solving one or two problems a week. Some of them cost money and some of them just cost time, thinking, and it's really, really a compound effect.
Right. Right.
Making that habit, and my team kind of knows that as well. So we're always on the lookout for, hey, boss, we're having this problem that's happening. I don't know if you know about this. We have an idea. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just consistently never letting up on this.
Man,
Over
I love that.
time, the farm has really become a enjoyable place to be.
Yeah. At one point, I think a couple years ago, I was kind of at like a frustrating point, and you said, Luke, it's progress over perfection.
That's
Like,
right.
don't get down on yourself. Like,
That's right.
one problem at a time,
Yep.
focus in on it, and you'll be much happier and in a
Yeah,
better
it's true.
place.
And I have to remind myself of that.
Right.
I had here's an example. I had one of my team members slip in and hurt his back, so he was out for a few weeks. Just right, like we had a a series of fall plantings we had to get in.
Right.
And so it was really just not a good time for this to happen. I found myself being like, oh my gosh, this is, terrible. I went, all right. Is there anything I can do about this right now? Nope. How important is this task in the overall, year picture from January to December.
Mhm.
And it was just a little blip. And so I just
Mm.
let it go. All right, we're not going to be able to get to it. We're not going to have these crops, but I wasn't really counting on them anyway. It was just like, I had a customer who wanted cauliflower, so we had some cauliflower and broccoli. I just was going to plant that. It's okay. So again, we made enough progress this year where that one little setback was, it's fine. It's disappointing, but that's really all it
Right,
is.
right.
So yeah, it's just progress. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. We as people, we're not perfect. We don't operate in a perfect world.
Mhm.
Nature doesn't care what we think or what we want to happen. It's going to do its thing. And so we just try to just roll with the punches.
Yeah. Let's zoom in on fertility. I know that's originally how we met, 5
Mhm.
years ago, was
Yep.
talking about fertility products and things that work and show prove themselves for the grower. Um and we're always both changing and morphing and trying new things and working on improving our fertility. What are some of the things you're looking for in the plant? And then what does your program look like today? Are you doing weekly foliar sprays? Are you spraying every 2 days to try to increase that fertility? Or what's your program look like? And you're adding compost on a season.
Mhm.
What is your fertility program?
All right. So this year, this is another one of these things that it is always changing. But currently this week, or this year, sorry, I take a soil test and
Uh-huh.
then I send those lab results to a company in Michigan, and they make a compost with my missing elements in a custom blend. So I got my macro, my
Wow.
micro. It's all adjusted to my soil lab results.
Okay.
It's mainly compost with a
Hmm.
little bit of fertilizer mixed in.
Okay. So it's
And so basically, let's just say, for example, we cropped out lettuce. We're going to
hmm
go back in with kale. I know that lettuce is going to take so much nutrients out of the soil to grow. So before we do kale, we'll go in and, we'll crop out the lettuce, get the fabric off the drip tape.
hmm
We'll put on 2 buckets of this compost blend on that one bed. We're currently using a tilter this year.
Like an electric Johnny's
Yep,
tilter?
just
Okay.
a classic Johnny's tilter, just to kind of break that in.
Yeah.
I did that about 5 years ago, and I wanted to do this zero till experiment. I just wasn't really happy with it. I think it really just it's a context thing. I'm not going to tell anyone how they should do bed prep, but for
hmm
us in our context, I felt like I needed just a little bit more of a fluffy seed bed for planting. Once that's established, then we are doing one time weekly, what I would say a fertigation using overhead netafim misters. So something new that we're trying.
So you're injecting these fertilizers
We're
through
injecting
the
that
line.
into our irrigation system, and that's a nice gentle mist that goes over. And I think we're running that for about 15 minutes.
Is that how long it takes with that 2% draw to pull out of a 5-gallon bucket or something like
Yeah,
that?
and I think currently I have to see what Sarah's doing now. Maybe it's a 2-gallon um
Okay.
solution mix of water
Mhm.
and all the amendments.
And so you move it to that tunnel, you tie your dosatron in as as a portable unit
That's right.
and then run it. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. One of the things on my wish list is to have one master unit where I can have one fertigation and it's tied to every single tunnel.
Mhm.
I've got one line where one hose bib that is connected to 8 tunnels. So I can no, sorry, 9 tunnels. So I can run 9 tunnels from that one station if I wanted to.
Yeah, and
Yep.
and you really like it. You're like, I
Yes.
like
We
this.
like that. We like that a
Yeah.
lot. So that's kind of what we're doing for
Okay.
our, I guess you could say our fertigation. We will also do a foliar spray. Depends on the crop, but I do like foliar spraying calcium. So we're doing that once a week. That's the backpack
Mm-hmm.
blower. I do
Mm-hmm.
like the blower versus the actual topical sprayer, kind of like a hand pump sprayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is definitely heavier, louder, but it does an excellent job on giving really good coverage.
Even coverage.
But
You know,
that's our basic weekly kind of nutrition program. Pretty happy with that.
yeah. So you've got a 7-day coverage window or space between every main application of your fertility.
That's right, something
Yeah.
like that. Yep,
Okay. That's
yep.
interesting.
And then we are doing like a disease. So we're doing regalia. We're doing ultra. It's and I know they say it's not necessary, but I do find that weekly spray, especially in the summertime,
Mm-hmm.
just helps to build that heat resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Just a nice package that we like to do.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. So that's kind of it's on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
For it's on the guy's schedule. There's a few things I'll do in the early mornings. I think they're doing calcium in the evening once a week. But that's pretty much what we're doing. And then we're just looking at our soil sample,
Mm-hmm.
crop health, how things are looking, and we'll adjust if we need to.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Now,
I did take um I talked to a soil consultant and like, you know what? I think you should, your soil levels are good. I would take a break from any kind of fertilizer and and fertigation. And so I tried that for a few weeks this summer, and it was a no go.
you noticed immediately.
Oh yeah, immediately. It's like no. It's like it's hard because these guys are really smart, but just having like it's just I know what good healthy crops look like that are grown in July and August, and when I make a small change and I'm seeing it go downhill,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm just gonna stop. I understand
Right.
on paper what they're saying, but I just think the amount of stress our plants go through in the summertime, they
Mm-hmm.
just need a lot more fertility to keep those plants healthy, robust, and help
Mm-hmm.
keep our yields up.
Yeah. I think the other thing is on your foliars and the way that you're dosing, it's not like you're adding a meal for half the year, like most of these,
Right.
conventional agronomy, programs work out. It's like they go and they look at the labor and they go, okay, we need to add this amount of this nutrient, in early spring, side dressing at this plant thing, just to get it to this physiological state. And you're like, no, 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 we're going very like teaspoons
Yes.
and just fairly feeding it very, very often,
Yes.
small
Often.
amounts of food, so that we do it. And you're not actually getting the same, year end measure of fertilizer on that same soil. So you're not really like shifting your soil's composition in a year
Right.
with the kinds of products you're using and the amounts
That's
that
right.
you're using. I think a lot of people hear um, injecting fertilizer and they think you're just like pumping it in, and
Hmm.
they hear bed flipping and they think 2 inches of compost every single
No,
bed flip, and you're like 2 buckets
that's
on a
right.
100-foot bed.
Right. Right.
That's a very different program than what people think of in their head when they go to that.
Yeah. My approach to farming and business is just consistency. Do a little bit often,
Mhm.
consistently, weekly. Just never miss a week, never miss a day. Have it set up where it's just very consistent.
And how many years have you been farming?
Since 2010, so 15 years.
15 years. So let's talk a little bit about your story leading up to this. I know like you have one of the most dramatic stories of how you drifted hardcore into market garden because you didn't start here. you started in the Salatin level of, you guys were processing what,
Yeah.
5,000 birds
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
month? Just snapshot that of your farming journey as a 15 years ago whippersnapper,
Oh my goodness.
and then
Yes.
obviously up to the big change, that deer in the headlight moment with Asha.
Yeah. So in 2010, we started no money. I think we had $150. I just lost my job. Our first daughter was, I think she was right at a year old, around this time. And so I just had this, it was really just more like a calling. Like, I just feel like I did this little garden for my wife, and I was just, um, I was bitten by the bug. Like, I just went, I have to do this. Like, I don't care about anything else. I gotta find a way to make this work for a living. Um, just those early mornings, the hard work, watching a seed sprout, just the magic of it growing and producing fruit and feeding my family. It was just amazing. I'm still at awe with the miracle of just yeah, just how awesome what you can get from a tiny single seed. Anyway, that's kind of got what got us started. I did that on the side. Well, I did some other work to kind of provide for my family. 2012, we went full time, took the leap of faith. We were scared out of our minds, but we had so much vision of what was possible. We had 2 years. We already saw what kind of growth we were having from that first year, only making 10,000. Then the next year was 25,000. All right, well, if we keep this going, and we can somehow not give up, we think we can make this work. It's not going to be easy. In that, I think around 2012, I was like, okay, well, I need more cash flow. In the wintertime, I don't have enough tunnels. So why don't we get into raising some animals? So we were doing several thousand meat birds, chickens a year. We were doing all our own processing, 50 or 60 hogs, a few hundred turkeys, which I don't recommend anyone doing. The egg layers and the produce. So it was grown. We had a good size vegetable CSA as well. It was a lot. I mean, we were working 100 hours plus a week. So kind of right at the end, I think it was the end of 2014, we finally had all of our processing equipment down. We really had it dialed in. I mean, we could do several hundred birds in a morning. We had a great team, a lot of fun. We finally kind of had the market. That's the hardest thing with farming, is like, it's easy to produce something, but it's very, very difficult to sell it at a price that will keep you in business. So we kind of had all those pieces going. The produce side was going. In February of 2015, our oldest daughter, she was 6 at the time, got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, squamous cell carcinoma in the jaw. They told me she had about 2 weeks to live. Greenhouse was packed full of tomatoes. I was ready to go for the season. We had all of our chicks ordered. We were about to start the season. We ended up going to St. Jude. We didn't do any chemo or anything for her, but we did have her jawbone removed with surgery. It was a pretty traumatic kind of come to Jesus wake up moment, where I kind of, my daughter's life and kind of our whole life kind of flashed before my eyes. And I was like, all right. We almost lost the farm just because I wasn't there. We were, all we cared at that time was just getting our daughter, just trying to get her well. And, you know, we had 4 kids, so we had a nursing baby at the time. My wife basically just became full-time nurse, kind of nursing her back. We did a lot of unconventional food things just to try to help her recover and kind of reset her immune system. So I was basically working the farm by myself, just me. It was insane. I was basically gone all day, missed every meal. When I was coming home at night, I was just completely I had nothing left.
Right.
So I just really kind of took a hard look at the life I was living and just went, I'm really not having fun. This farm was supposed to give me time for my family, get my family involved. You know, we took out pork for our daughter's diet, so we were no longer, eating pork. Um, so I just grew to hate these pigs. Like, why grow something if you can't even enjoy it? You know, so when I look at the whole big picture, I went, all right, the greatest asset that I have is time. I want time for my family. Like, there was really no guarantee that she was going to even make it a year or two later. So I was just looking at, let's just say if I only have a year or two, like I want to be with her as much as I possibly can. So I decided that something had to go. Something had to change. I still love the farm. I like the lifestyle, but I was just doing way too much. So I just kind of imagined, I looked at what are the things in my life that brought me the most joy, and it was really just growing vegetables. I just
Hmm.
loved it. It was so much easier, less to produce and cost, easier to sell at the price I needed to than meat. And so I was finding that, what was holding me back really on really being an excellent vegetable farmer was all the hours I was spending taking care of all these animals. So I decided at the end of that year that my wife and I just really felt strongly we need to drop the meat business, which was probably 75% of our sales at the time. But I felt like if I dropped the meat and I focused on vegetables and really just put 100% of my effort and energy to that, I could grow more, sell more, and have more time. So we dropped the meat business and I decided that we were going to have an 8-hour working day. So I'm just going to only work 8 hours a day. And then I'm going to limit myself to that much time, and I'm going to make sure that I'm only growing those crops and only doing activities that was the most critical to helping us keep our cash flow solid. So
Hmm.
2016 was like our first year of like, all right, we're doing a big reset, 8-hour days. It was amazing. And I mean, yeah, I think we did over $100,000 in that first kind of year just on vegetables alone. I think 1 month we did 30,000 on just a quarter of an acre, just 1 month alone.
Wow.
So finally, like we were able to, I gave ourselves 100% pay increase. It was just amazing.
Hmm.
So really since that traumatic experience, and having that major lifestyle adjustment change, I had not looked back.
When you think of that as like the low point to lead you to where you're at now, do you ever wonder what the next challenge or big hurdle, because you weren't expecting that and that was a sudden full stop moment.
Yes.
Do you have any sort of like maybe fears or like trauma associated with that, like at this point in your journey where like you could experience a full stop moment at any time and go, whoa? Or are you like, you know what, no matter what happens, we can get through this next full stop moment?
Yeah, I think you probably know this too, Luke. As a father and a husband, there's always these times kind of throughout, whether it be the day or the week or the month or the year, where I'm like, okay, what happens if I lose it all? Something tragic happens to my family. Um, I never would have, because it wasn't like we were eating junk food and sugary cereal. Like we were, most of our food, not most of it, I would say a good portion of it came from the farm. So it wasn't like our lifestyle was terrible. So it's just out of this blue, like, you know,
Right. Right.
um, I spent most of my adult life eating like crap. So if anybody should be getting cancer, it needs to be me. Like I deserve it, not
Right.
her, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I think since then, it's definitely a very humbling experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it did for me is like, I don't really know what the future holds because this could
Right.
happen again. Something
Sure.
worse could happen again.
Sure.
I'm going to be very grateful for this moment, for this day, for my family, for this amazing opportunity to do what I love to do each day.
Mm-hmm.
That may get taken away from me tomorrow. I don't know. God gives and takes away. So I think, I hope I have what it takes to kind of weather the next storm.
Right.
We're all humans, and so all of our days are numbered. We just don't
Right.
know when. So,
Well, I look at the hurdles that you
yeah,
faced and the success that you've had, and even this year and in the last 2 or 3 years with tornadoes coming through
right.
and just missing you, and hail coming down and
And
decimating
decimating.
all of your crop or your tunnels, and then the family dynamics and staffing. Anytime you have people involved, things get challenging and you always have to make decisions according. But at the same time, I see something in you where your attitude has just remained positive. You have continued to persevere and strive through and kind of be a beacon of this is possible if, right?
If, yeah,
And those ifs are what I'm fascinated by. The
yeah,
ifs are hey, you know what? Like this, you can live this farming lifestyle and thrive and do all this. And is your life perfect? No, I know
mhm,
it's not. I know
right,
I know you
right.
have family life and
Oh, yeah,
squabbles and
oh yeah,
all the stuff, right?
all the stuff. Yep.
And so it's just one of those things that um I want to say thank you for persevering through and not quitting and leaving to an office job, because you give
Mhm.
hope to so many people on um, through your story and through your trials and through your tribulations of this can be done. So first of all, thank you. And thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story and sharing just some of your tips that you've learned through 15 years of putting in the work and putting in the perseverance um, and grinding, because farming is just a grind
It's a
most
grind.
most days.
It's a
it
grind.
it, it can be a joyful grind, but I don't
Grind.
at least for me, the grind is not joyful every day. Like
Yeah.
I have to really like you know
Yeah.
and hopefully like year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, we learn from our past mistakes and we can
Hmm.
continue to make that progress over that perfection, and depending on our personalities, um really lean into that if we need it more and
Yep.
stay encouraged by one another, but
Yep.
thank you for being such an inspiration. um
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Ray, do you have any last tips or tricks regarding the garden, or the encouragement for anybody who's maybe thinking about shifting from this good market or this good garden size or maybe this hobby into this
Hmm.
dream that they have of producing food? Do you have any last tips or tricks for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if you feel drawn, called to this, um, the first thing is like, if you're wondering when to start, now is the time. Just start. It doesn't matter if it's a potted plant, if you've got a little patch of yard in your backyard that's, 100 square foot, just start. Get your hands dirty and start to experience that miracle that can happen with planting that seed, watering, tending for that plant, and start to experience a little bit success. That's what I think can really that's what's really helped me is um starting to get some wins, right? There's going to be a lot of losses in this journey. And then, when it comes to making that jump of like, hey, I think I can make this work. Then it's
Hmm.
just a matter of, I think, one, be taking a good stock on like reality with
Hmm.
yourself as a person. One is if you want to think about doing this as a business, really ask yourself, do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? You have what
Mm.
it takes to have a business. And also just taking stock on, like, how much pain can you bear? That's really what it comes down to. If you have a high tolerance for pain and you have vision, you can see what's possible. You know what lights you up, what brings you satisfaction. You like to grow as a person, individually, spiritually, mentally. You like that challenge. You don't see pain as something to avoid. You're fine with embracing pain as long as you know this is part of the journey to get you where you're at today and where you want to be tomorrow. So yeah, I think with any kind of business and farming, especially, there's just being, embracing that pain, and also just, living in reality, you
Mm.
know, of like, yes, this is fun, but there is a lot of pain. It's not going to be easy. Being in reality of, like, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses. You may be really good at selling. Maybe, man, you can just kill it at selling. Personally, I hate selling. I hate asking people for money. I just want to grow the food. But I also know the reality is that if I want to have a business and I don't want to hire someone to sell it, just haven't found that to be practical in my case, I'm going to have to embrace selling. That means I'm going to have to learn how to sell. I mean, there's just so many things that comes to that. So yeah,
Mm.
so just taking a good hard look at, who are you? What are you capable of enduring? What kind of pain? What are the areas in your life that needs to be worked on? And just embrace those flaws. You realize we all have them. Know what yours is, and you're going to have to work harder in those areas than others. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm.
I really thought early on this was just going to be a pure family farm. We have 6 kids. We decided we want to homeschool. I thought my wife and I were going to work side by side together. Then, our daughter gets sick. That doesn't happen. So, we have these expectations that, it's good to have expectations, but at the same time, be in reality. I had to
Mhm.
become the reality that, hey, really, in order for me to have this 8-hour a day normal life or have time for my family and my kids don't hate me or the farm, I got to get some help. I want to grow this into a profitable business
Right.
that can go on without me.
That leads me into a question, and I know we don't have that much more time, but how do you balance risk, and specifically financial risk? Like,
Yep.
when is it appropriate to hire? Do you hire before you're ready to hire? Do you take have you taken ag loans out to fund the greenhouses and the tunnels and
Yep.
the NRCS grants and all that stuff? And how do you justify that? Because most big scale farms are run on financing.
Yep.
And
Great question. So my personal take on this is that I do not like personal debt. We're not going to borrow money to go to Disneyland or go to the Bahamas. We're not going to do it. We're going to save up. No personal debt. When it comes to the business with agriculture, for me personally, because I don't want to wait till I'm 80 to have a successful business, there came to a point in my career where I did bootstrap for years. And
Mhm.
then it was like, you know what? The pain that we're experiencing is almost unbearable. And we just cannot grow till we get this piece of infrastructure. Yeah, we could say, but it would take us 10 years.
Mhm.
So I purchased a $50,000 greenhouse. I put 20% down and I borrowed money from an agriculture loan company. They gave me a money for it. And that completely changed. It solved so many pain points in our farm. And that greenhouse made me money, cash flow. The first week that greenhouse was
The
operational.
first week.
The first week. Then it paid off, but it
Right.
made me profit, right? So if I'm going to borrow money, I look, okay, if I'm going to borrow money for this, it needs to pay for itself plus profit.
How did you do those calculations initially for choosing the size greenhouse, the space, the kind of greenhouse, the automation, all the bells and whistles of your tunnel? How did you go, okay, this in the first week is going to cash flow this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how did you do those calculations? Did you literally go to the internet and start price shopping and add it all up and say, I can do 200 trays on this table of this and I can sell it for this? And like, did you do all that math?
Okay, so how I did this practically was we started to kind of get into microgreens, but I had this 20 by 40 greenhouse, poor ventilation. It was infested with mice, just holes everywhere through the floor. And I could sell more microgreens and I could sell more plants and things like that, but we had no space. So I went, all right, if we do this greenhouse, it's going to cost me payments was I think around $600 a month. You know, over I think if I remember correctly, it was like over 5 years. Is that right? Yeah, yeah. I want to say it was around 500ish. My wife would know the exact numbers. So it's around $500 a month for this payment. I could sell I think I had a market for around $1,000 a week in microgreens ish at that time, if I could produce them, and not counting the other transplants and other sales. We wanted to kind of get
Mm-hmm.
into potted herbs as well, but we had no space
Mm-hmm.
for them. So I went, all right, if I'm gonna take out this loan, it's gonna cost me so much a month,
Mm-hmm.
but and also we kind of needed some storage space for other things on the farm. So I went, all right, this will so I kind of added up my current sales, my demand, and it was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to make me right away, not counting future growth, around $2,000 a month.
Very good.
My payments were 500, and I knew that I could develop over time this greenhouse and making me even more money once
Mm-hmm.
I have the space and I could get someone trained to use it. So that's how I was able to justify that initial cost, right? So let's just say it cost
Mm-hmm.
me, I want to say, all right, if it's going to make me, um, you know, $4,000 a month, 500, $500 of that will go to the greenhouse payment. That's enough left over to pay whatever electric. I could then hire someone part time to help me take over that greenhouse role. So that's
Mm.
how I would justify that cost. And that's how I looked at that as all right, if I'm going to get a loan on a business loan, this loan needs to make me money. It can't
Right.
just be, I really want different color, siding on my house, on my pack shed, just because I don't like this. I'm not going to borrow money for that. Like it's
Right.
pure aesthetic. It's not going to make me any money. So I'm not going to borrow money for that. I'm only going to borrow money for things that will solve major pain points. That's adding a lot of chaos and mayhem in my farm and lost sales.
So
That's my personal take on that.
what do you think on farms that are maybe trying to decide between a $15,000 BCS with some attachments or a $30,000 tractor with some attachments to try and knock out a bunch of those pain points? How do they decide? I mean, there's no end to what you can spend money on. So it's like,
There's no end.
is it tunnels? Is it weed fabric? Is it this? Like where would be your
Um,
coaching in that?
Number one, water. If you don't have good water, I would get an agricultural loan to get water, whatever you need. You can if you have no money like me when you first started. Luckily, the plot that I rented, and then still renting had water already on it, so I
Hmm.
was very grateful. But I would not start a farm without water.
And so would you mean well, would you mean
Well,
ditch irrigation, whatever it was to
whatever
have
it
good
is,
water? Yeah.
if you're on city. then you need to get a reverse osmosis system. I mean, whatever the case is. Once that's done, see, when you first start out, I just told this grower, he wanted to kind of get started in farming. First year, totally green, doesn't even know where he's going to sell the stuff. He just got landed a pretty good chunk of money, like a lot. And I told him, he's like, I wonder if I should just use this. I said, man, do not spend a dime of that money, because you don't know if you can even sell. You don't even know if you can even grow. I really recommend growers for the first 2 years, literally bootstrapping this, because you can waste so much money on things that you think you need. Hey, this farmer's got it. He's doing really good. This guy's got a $100,000 tractor and $250,000 of implements, and he's grown. That's fine. And you could grow, but can you sell that produce to make money? There's so many things to this, so many layers. So my recommendation is do not borrow money for the first few years at all. Now, I did take a $1,500 loan my first year, and I did buy a used high tunnel. I tore down, I put it back up. I did borrow money for that. And I think I borrowed a few $100. I think it's my second, that first year. Later on, for that first initial seed payments, I had partnered with a grocery store. It was like a health food grocery store. Like, hey, we'll give you a few $100s for seeds if you grow produce for us. And then we'll just, we'll just work out a deal where you give us produce until it's paid off. So I did do that for my first year. But my recommendation for those first few years, don't borrow any money.
It's very, very good advice.
Unless you just feel like, you got a good job, and, everyone's story is different. But for the most part, like, it's good to have a lot of pain for your first 5 years, so you know what you're even doing, what you even want to do. If farming is for you, there's not enough money. You can't borrow enough money to make farming fun. Like, if you're not cut out for it, if you're not cut out for the growing, the weather, the sales, the labor, money's not going to make those problems go away.
That is so good. That is so good. I think I want to end on that, because that's just like such a good thing. If you're not cut out to farm, money isn't going to make it.
Nope.
Won't do it. Awesome.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ray Tyler with Rose Creek Farms. Ray, where can people find how to follow you, or what you're up to and what you're doing? You also have a book. You've written a book on how to do this. So where do people find that?
If you go to our farm is Rose Creek Farms. We're on, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. My educational coaching books, courses is at Small Farms for Big Change. Check us out there. I do weekly coaching calls with farmers, helping them, solve and answer a lot of the questions that you asked this morning on a weekly basis. And that's where you can find me.
Man, that's awesome. Everybody, make sure you leave a comment or a like and subscribe to the How I Grow This podcast. We're going to continue to strive to bring expert advice like this from farmers and home gardeners and homesteaders, just to help you grow a little bit better. That's kind of our mission. And this podcast is brought to you by Seed Time. Seed Time is a gardening planner that is a solution for many growers at all different levels to stay on track in their garden, easily helping you navigate through your planting schedules, staying on task, keeping records and journals, laying out your garden, managing your inventory of your seeds, and so much more. So make sure you get your free calendar today at seedtime.us. And without any further ado, Ray, thank you again so much for this time together. It was awesome.
Great to talk to you, Luke, always.
Man, thanks for staying tuned all the way to the end. We're so excited that you're here, and that probably means that you enjoyed what you heard. You found some value in it. If you could, go and share this with somebody that you know. That really helps push it forward in the algorithm. Hit a like, a subscribe, hit a review. It makes all the difference for us. Thank you for listening to the How I Grow This podcast, and we are dedicated to bringing more of these stories to you to help you grow at the next level. We'll see you.